Welcome to Performance Anxiety, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. I am your host, Mark, and I want to thank our sponsor, AKG, for sending us their Podcaster Essentials Kit. It's got an amazing Lyra mic and an awesome set of headphones. If you thought about doing your own podcast, this is the best way to do it affordably. And this episode is one of those great ones that comes about due to a prior guest. Scarlett Sabet introduced me to the band Modern Guilt. I listened to the singles and reached out to drummer Scott, bassist Andreas, and singer-guitarist Jazz about doing the podcast, and I'm so glad I did. The guys are so much fun to speak with. We talk about why it took a year to decide on their name, Andreas' love of Kenny G, and how the one thing that Jazz can do is two things. We had some timing issues with Zoom and Andreas, so there's some interesting edits in here. We go off on a few tangents, but we always manage to bring it back around and keep listening after the initial sign-off. I listen to the extra bits that are usually left on the editing room floor and enjoy them so much that I included them at the very end. There's a lot of talk about the state of new music and bonus material. So follow Modern Guilt at _modern_guilt on Twitter and at Modern Guilt Official on Instagram. Pick up their very first EP, You're Welcome, wherever you get music. Follow us at Performance ANX on social media. Merch is found at performanceanx.threadless.com. And we love it when you treat us to coffee at ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety. And you're welcome for an episode featuring Scott, Andreas, and Jazz of Modern Guilt on Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
Fantastic. That's what I like. So, take one, scene one. Welcome. This is Modern Guilt, Jazz, Andreas, Scott. And you're listening to the Performance Anxiety Podcast. We've just released an EP called You're Welcome, because you're welcome. And we're here to chat about it and any other socio-political issue that might arise over the course of the next 7.5 hours. If you have any questions, please write in. A number will be flashing across the bottom of your screen. It's not mine, but someone will get the questions. They may or may not respond.
That's the Modern guarantee.
That's all I've got. I'm going to be completely out of words for the entirety of the podcast. I've used up what little I had in the tank. Scott sent us through a list of some of the people that have been on, just so that we could feel really special.
Yeah. It's like no pressure, guys, but
and we do, and we feel really special.
Oh,
we do.
I appreciate that. It's amazing because I've had incredible people and
us
10 people listening. I don't know what I'm really bad on the marketing myself part.
No, good.
But I've been very lucky to have some incredible people on.
I'm not saying we're cheap and easy.
No,
but we're kind of cheap and easy.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. I mean, it didn't cost me too much to get you guys on. So.
Yeah.
Hey, Scott, did you ask for payment? Because you haven't shared that with us.
Wait, Andreas is calling me. He'll be here. Andreas, are you outside?
He's the band vampire.
Pretty much, yeah. He's scanned in.
Just give me a ring when you come, because we're on the call, but we're waiting to get started. All right, bye.
Is he almost there?
He's just running at Holloway Road.
Okay.
Oh, well, then he's so close.
You know where that is?
It's just down the road a piece.
Yeah, he texted us about 50 minutes ago. He said, I'm in an Uber car just now. So I was like, okay.
That's going to be an expensive Uber.
Yeah.
You're going to have to use some of that money I gave you, apparently.
Yeah.
What? Pay for that damn Uber.
This guy would be late for his own funeral.
Yeah.
I used to be like that for the longest time. I guess I'm still kind of like that, yeah. So,
he gets away with it because he's lovely.
I don't. Yet I'm an asshole. I am an asshole.
That was not the implication. I wasn't having it. It's too early in the day for me to start having a go at you. I'm still just
we're just still getting to know each other. It's cool. It's fine. My rule in life is if I can't take it, I can't dish it out. So that's if there's one thing I have taught my kids, it's that. Because I'm brutal on them. No, nah, they're good kids. So we could just kind of get started. This is kind of the way the podcast goes anyway. It's just very casual. I mean, you guys have heard a little bit. So, but before we do anything, I do want to thank Scarlett Sabet for introducing me to you guys.
So, oh, wow. It came through Scarlett.
Yeah. She posted something about either one of the singles or the EP or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. And it had a little clip of the music, I believe. And I heard it. I'm like, ooh, this is excellent. So I reached out to her. I'm like, hey, do you think these guys would be interested in coming on the podcast? And she's like, yeah. Like, all right, yeah. I'm gonna reach out and see if we can get this to work. And excuse me,
here we are.
Burped in my own mouth. Yeah. So yeah, here we are.
Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, I've known Scarlett for years, and she's wonderful, and she's a wonderful poet.
Yes. And
now to hear that this has come through her, I'm probably owe her a drink.
You're gonna have to send her. Thank you.
Yeah. And one of these days we'll actually get into the meat of the podcast, but I'm having too much fun. So
Andreas.
Oh, you might be here.
Yo, I'm just gonna get our guitarist. Just give us 2 seconds.
You got it, man.
All right.
Usually we try and do it all together.
Yeah.
But I've had to do a whole bunch of other commitments this morning, and we live across other sides of London, so I couldn't get up there in time.
Okay.
Turns out it wouldn't have mattered if I was half an hour late. Yeah, there's me overestimating the timekeeping of the rest of the band.
Oh, yeah. So, well, you got the one responsible one there, though.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, how long of a trip? I've always heard that, going from one side of London to the other is, like a day's journey. Is it really bad?
It can be. Yeah. It can be. I mean, it doesn't take too long. It's sort of about an hour.
Wow. That's still pretty amazing for just one city. Hey.
Andreas has arrived.
Hey, how's it going, man?
Good.
Hey, Andreas, welcome.
Hey, stuck in traffic.
I've heard that about London.
Oh, yeah, that is shit for traffic.
Yes.
He lives next door as well.
I know, he's only down the road.
yeah, he does. He lives next door.
Man, that's a bitch of an Uber drive next door, and it still took 50 minutes?
It's to fucking 40 minutes, mate.
Oh.
It's really hot.
It's beginning to sound like the Uber drive is a hoax. Like you weren't even in an Uber. Yeah. You were just spending your time very slowly walking.
Yeah, it was actually an Uber Eats, and I just...
You mean sat outside eating?
Yeah.
Uber beer, huh?
Yeah.
That's an idea right there. Uber beer.
Yeah, Uber beer.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing with licensing in London is you can get beer everywhere all the time. Which is pretty good.
Well, unless you're locked down, and then you got to figure out some way to get it.
That is true.
So how is the situation in the UK right now? Because in the US, things are opened up pretty much. It's you're on your own recognizance. If you're vaccinated or like you've had COVID, they basically say, all right, no masks. You just back to life. Go ahead. How is it over there?
I think people are starting to get tired of this shit, and they're slowly stopping to care.
Yeah.
Even though we're technically still on lockdown. So, I mean, I'm working in the city in Soho, and like last night I was finishing a bit late, and it's just exactly the way it was before the pandemic. Everybody's everywhere. It's a couple of more masks here and there, but people are out. It's out, and people have been cooped up for a year and a half. So
yeah.
Everything was supposed to have lifted all the restrictions this week, but it's had to be delayed for a month.
Wow.
So it's really frustrating.
Oh, it is.
And then on top of that, you got the football,
which is like this.
Oh,
soccer. It's called
soccer.
I think the rest of the world calls it soccer.
All right.
I mean, the rest of the world has been the rest of
America calls it soccer.
Yes.
Because that's on, and it's the summer, and it's getting warm, and everyone's been cooped up for a year. There's like this cabin fever / explosive debauchery which has just hit London. And people, I mean, although the lockdown has kind of been extended, pretty much what it feels like the only thing it's hit in the UK is the music industry.
So are they allowing crowds, fans into the football games?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like reduced capacity just now.
Doesn't really change the fact that people still travel to see football in the city they're in, though.
Yeah.
Like, how many Scottish...
And also, by reduced capacity, you mean like 45,000 people.
Wow, that's, you know...
You got one coming up, it's about 60,000, and it's like...
Good point.
They're not letting like small festivals go ahead that are like 5 or 10,000.
Yeah, and they've been doing these pilot things where they get sort of people who are vaccinated and they've got proof of it. They do like little indoor festivals, and they've done them up in Liverpool, I think. And they've gone really well. Like, there's been no increase in outbreak of like coronavirus, any of that. So even though they've done the trials and they've got the data back, it's still not making any headway towards reopening venues.
Wow.
The problem is that the nature of the whole fucking shit show situation we're in is that people like us are the ones being hit very, very hard. Again, it's like poor people are being hit the hardest.
And there's very, very little support for
like if
arts and stuff here.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, you know, you guys and, you know, people who've lost their job, there's not a whole lot of recourse. So,
I mean, think about it this way: it's like any change to a status quo that you have in a society will always hit working class and fringe.
Yeah.
And people on the fringe first and the hardest, always. And it doesn't matter what the fuck it is, if it's a virus or if it is a musician or just a bartender or fucking cab driver, you know.
Yeah.
It's like we are the ones who are going to be hit the hardest, whatever happens. Yeah. And it just, fortunately, there's a fucking virus.
Yeah.
You know.
Exactly. So, all right. So we got virus talk out of the way.
Yeah.
So,
are we recording?
Yeah. Oh, we've been recording for 20 minutes.
Excellent.
Nice. We've been brought in on this podcast as the English specialists on COVID.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, you guys are in a band too?
Else, but...
Oh, yeah. Google University. Yeah.
Okay, so and that's part of the thing. I've there's 3 of you guys. There's you 3 in all the promo pictures, but I also see in the press release that there's 5 guys in the band. So are there? Is it you guys a trio, or is it a 5-piece?
It's 5. Basically, myself, Andreas, and Jazz were the sort of core that set up the group.
Okay.
And have been writing, and then we needed other people to make the songs come across live. Yeah. And we got Glenn and Dan, who are amazing, and they add a lot to our sound, and you know, it's great. Like, they're good mates, they're great musicians. They bring a lot to it as well.
All right,
friends. It makes it easier to work with this one.
Oh, that's good. That helps. What I like to start off with usually is how you guys really got into music in the first place. Not necessarily as a band, just what was steering you towards music growing up? Was there a lot of music in the house? Were your parents into music, or are you the black sheep who's different from everybody else in the family? So, Andreas, let's start off with you.
All right. I'm an old metal kid, actually. My parents are old hippies, and I have older brothers, and they're like 8-9 years older than me, which means that in the 80s they were metal kids when I was just a little baby. You know, I was breaking into my brother's room and playing his Faith No More and Metallica and Nuclear Assault albums.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and I mean, it was also the fact that there's always been instruments lying around in the house that, you know, you all been fucking around with. So I went to music school quite early and played bass. And I mean, you have the Geezer Butler was one of my big favorites, and Scott Reeder, which I saw you interviewed on your podcast.
Yes,
he's like a personal hero in Caius.
Oh gosh, yeah.
John Entwistle is a cool guy as well, but it's been mostly metal, and then I get more mellow the older I get, I guess. You know, into that case, and the 60s came along with it.
Tends to happen.
I always loved old music, like especially I had a very big 60s and 70s period, which is probably still going on, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's good music.
Hard like metal always. Like, I'm Swedish, so it's in the blood, man.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
Black metal.
Fuck yeah.
So Scott, how did you get into music?
Yeah, I guess, well, when I was a teenager, really into football and wasn't particularly soccer, wasn't particularly great, but I guess like my parents got me into music. Amazing, they bought me like secondhand drum kit, started doing lessons, and it was, I guess, the thing that I thought I was actually all right at. And then just continued from there. Like Andreas, like was into like a lot of old like 60s, 70s music as well growing up. And yeah, just been playing in bands on and off pretty much for the last 20 years, I guess.
Oh, wow.
It feels like, yeah, quite a while.
What was it that made you guys, and Jazz, I'll get to you in a second. I'm not forgetting the
I'll be back to you later.
So what was it that made you guys think that this was something you wanted to do professionally? When did that bug hit that you wanted to really pursue music?
I thought first concert I went to is an English band called Ocean Colour Scene, and the drummer did a drum solo. And I was just amazed. You were just watching that. And then when you get to sort of do it yourself, whether you're playing like in a really small venue in front of your friends, or, you know, we've been lucky enough to play some really, really big shows over the years, like just that buzz that you get being on stage is like, wow, I want to keep doing this. It's addictive.
So for you, it wasn't a song that you heard and said, oh, I want to do this. It was actually getting up there. And then when you had that feeling, you're like, yeah, okay, this is something I got to keep doing.
Yeah, I guess so. And then, you know, look, with writing music or listening to music, you get, you know, it brings a lot of emotion or energy, or you get so much out of listening to different types of songs. And so that added with like the buzz of playing in front of people, and writing music, creating, it's all like,
I can see that.
Ace.
Yeah, I can completely see that. I feel more I needed it as a release, so not so much.
Yeah.
I think one of the reasons why I took up instruments to begin with was that it's an outlet for all the anxiety that you got going inside, and whether or not you make money on being able to express yourself, may it be just in front of yourself, then everything else comes as a bonus. So I've never really seen the fact that like I need to do this for a living. For me, it's been like I need to do it so I can get a stress relief, basically.
Ah, okay. So, Jazz.
Hello.
Hey, back to Jazz.
Another introduction.
I felt like I was sort of a co-host, just listening to you guys, and I was thinking, what can I ask? That sounds very interesting.
When it flipped over to your face, all I saw was. So, all right. So, Jazz, how did you get into music in the first place, and at what point did you really decide to pursue it as a career?
I think no one in my family was big into music. No one played instruments. My dad doesn't even listen to music.
Oh, how is that possible?
Well, so he's always said this, like, I don't listen to music, and he would repeat the same line. He'd misquote a Leonard Cohen line from Suzanne every other day. And that was sort of the extent of his sort of the music that was reflected to me from him growing up.
Wow.
And my mum listened to Bruce Springsteen and Elton John.
Okay.
So Bruce Springsteen was probably is what is like the soundtrack to most of my formative years.
Wow.
So it ended up being a massive influence.
That's pretty wild, because he is uniquely American.
Oh God, so American.
So,
and what was very strange is sort of being about 6 years old and feeling like I was identifying with like American dock workers and you know union guys,
right.
because all the emotions that he was speaking about, you know, that feeling of being like trapped in a dead end town. And I was like, It doesn't really make sense. I grew up in London, not exactly a dead end town, quite the opposite.
Right.
But I felt really drawn to it. I think whatever it was the way that it made me feel. That is what I got hooked on.
Right.
And it was just and for me, a huge part of it was the feelings I get, you know, that thrill, that buzz, when it's just like a tiny little backing vocal or a tiny like hook or a guitar solo or a drum fill. And it gives you like, it's like a little punch in the stomach of pure joy.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to then always have that. So I wanted to then make it so I could like pass it on and then always have my own version of it. And the other part of it was I thought musicians were really cool. I thought being in a band was really cool, and I really wanted to.
Yeah, that's basically it. Also,
like I can give you the whole spiel of my sort of musical formative years. You know, the chronology of how I developed and how it tapped into my emotions. What it boils down to is I'm so desperate to be cool.
That's so true.
let's sign up for that one.
You've got this like Christian Bale aura to you.
Sorry, can you just say that again and I can record it?
Sure, you've got this.
Fuck.
Amazing. I mean, you can tell me that every day.
But it's kind of
his arse. It's got to explode.
It's kind of like Christian Bale in American Psycho.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes. That's a niche
Huey Lewis
vibe.
in the news.
Huey Lewis. Have you read the book?
I'm not sure what I'm channeling to bring the psychopathic Wall Street into this, but I like it. I can use that.
You can. I
don't know what I can use it for apart from murders.
Well, then you can write about them. You can make music about the murders.
Yeah.
It could be a double EP. Isn't that just called an LP?
No.
Yeah.
No, it's called an album. No.
Yeah. The EP.
See?
EP squared.
Weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Such as, at what point did you start singing? Was singing your main musical outlet at first, or was it guitar? Or was it something else?
Well, I mean, I've always written. So I've always written all sorts of different things. And it just turns out that I don't have the attention span to write a full story. Whatever I wrote got shorter and shorter and shorter. And it turns out that I think along the way, I found out that what I was really interested in was like capturing something really small and really pure, whatever that might be. And so it just turned out that songs and poetry was, for me, the way that I managed to get it across better. And I didn't have to worry about plots. You know, even now when I'm writing, I have a very vague idea of what I'm writing about until it's done. And then I just make it up.
That's awesome.
But I always wrote, and then I started playing the guitar a bit. And then, there's Subterranean Homesick Blues.
Yes.
Where in the video, Dylan is holding up all those cards, and there's a really famous still of him holding up the one which says, "I can't sing."
Yes.
That is sort of the most deeply burnt in memory of like me growing up trying to play music, which is I can't sing. And the main thing was that it didn't matter. Like, you know, he found ways, Dylan, for God's sake, it just didn't matter. He found a way and he did it. And I basically just wanted to like tell stories. And it was about finding people who were better at music than I am to make me look good. And welcome, Scott and Andreas.
Yeah.
Hi. How you doing?
So how did you guys all meet? You guys are making up stories?
Oh, sorry, man.
I think that they're trying to come up with stories to talk about.
It's going to be funny, but
It didn't work out.
Oh.
Hard job, that.
You know what? It's kind of funnier to me when things just fall flat.
That's even better.
I love that.
That's the routine we were going for there. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, kudos.
It's the same routine we've got when we're playing live.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, so before we got so rudely interrupted by Zoom's insistence that I pay them to do a meeting longer than 40 minutes, how did you guys all meet up?
It's on you.
It's on me. Okay. So a few years ago, Jazz and I met through some mutual friends. We were out in Camden one night and we just got chatting. I thought I recognized Jazz. I thought he was famous. Turns out he wasn't.
There he is. Actually, he thought it was Harry Styles from One Erection.
So we got chatting about like starting a new band project, and I guess like a week or so later, like I've played with Andreas for like 10 years. 15 something.
15,
a lot, too much.
Yeah, insane.
Yeah.
We'll go 12 and a half.
Yeah. And so we about a week or so after I met Jazz, the three of us met up and just to see if we kind of shared the same sort of musical interest and see if we got on with each other, I guess. We hadn't heard Jazz play.
By that point, it was too late.
Yeah. I guess a few weeks later, we organized the rehearsal, but the plan was to like go in with, no one had any music or like song ideas before. We just wanted to have a jam for a few hours to see what kind of music we would come up with, and what style and stuff. So
I remember talking to you, and I remember thinking like at least you have to, there's some ups and some downs, and I mean, Jazz, at least he has all of his teeth.
That's a good start.
Yeah, I guess that was about it, really. And then it just went on. We didn't have anybody else, and
At the very end of that first rehearsal, we came up with the track called Hoping for the Hoping, which was our first single. Months ago. So that was
rehearsal.
Like, yeah.
Wow.
It's a simple song, so
it's like 4 chords, really. So.
Yeah. So that became a bit of a blueprint for like our sound and direction in a way.
Okay.
And we went from there. I guess a few months of writing together to get enough material that we thought was good enough to play a set, and then that's where we got Glenn and Dan involved, and we've just been going ever since.
Oh yeah. I mean, the cool thing is that because it went so quick in the beginning, it's like getting down material and then throwing material away as you're making new material, I think is very important for a creative process, instead of saying, we got to have 5 songs. We have 4 songs. We need to write one. And then you write something that's great.
Yeah.
But if you just keep on writing, you have like you can choose what
best of the best,
and then you can, the
best of the worst.
That makes
it's the best of the worst shit you got.
Yeah. We had the good, the shit, and the shitter.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I hadn't played in about 6 or 7 years.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I'd spent a long time out.
Really? What made you get out?
It was also a perfect excuse for being absolutely terrible.
That's true.
I could say, guys, I'm going to get better. Don't worry about it. Just give me some time.
6 years ago, this would have been amazing.
By the point they realised I wasn't going to get any better, it was too late.
We committed.
Yeah. You already made all the t-shirts.
His face on a t-shirt.
So what made you leave music for a few years?
When I was about 20, I sort of injured my arm, and then the project I was working on at the time collapsed and sort of lost everything, and then got really bitter. And basically, I couldn't play. I'm not a good enough singer not to play the guitar. So, and I'm also not a good enough guitarist not to sing. So I've carved myself out, and I've also got the ego of a frontman. So really, there's like one thing I can do, and that is like
a combination of 2 things.
Little package, very carefully managed by the real musicians, Scott and Andreas.
England and Dan, actually, as well. I mean,
they're the better ones, to be honest.
Whoa! Shut up!
Shut up!
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. So how did you guys choose the name Modern Guilt? That's unique.
Oh,
God. Jazz, you go.
We spent quite a lot of time going over back.
About a year.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. From right from the beginning to pretty much the point when we didn't settle on a name until shortly before we played our first show.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, we were called Scott's New Band for a while, which I really like.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great.
Yeah, I really like that name. It's definitely.
Apparently, other people in the band.
I mean,
yeah, we wanted a name which, because we all knew that like choosing a good band name is so hard.
Oh yeah.
So we would like come up with something, we'd put it on for a few weeks and just see how it felt, and then invariably we'd throw it out the window. We wanted something that could mean a whole bunch of different things, so that it wasn't one thing or another. Like you could take from it, much like, the way that we write, you can take from it what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever reason we came up for it is kind of irrelevant.
Okay.
Yeah. I think you're very right there, Jess. It's like the thing, we found something that nobody hated, which was great.
Yeah.
And then working your way out of that is like, because the name means something to me as well, but it means something completely different for Jazz or Scott, for example.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, also it's a really good Beck album, which we all like.
That's true. I mean, I remember the Beck album, and when I started trying to do research for you guys, that's like everything that came up.
Yeah, I know.
You thought you were getting Beck on this interview, but funnily,
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well,
You're getting the Beck of Bermondsey.
Less Scientology though.
there you go. Not completely out the window, just less.
yeah.
So, all right.
We used to we had a WhatsApp group of the three of us before we decided on the name, and we used to change the name of the WhatsApp group to what we thought was going to be the prospective band name. And then after about 2 weeks, everyone was like, nah, it's not that. It doesn't feel right. And then someone mentioned Modern Guilt, and we all looked at each other and went, that's it.
Yeah.
So it was pretty clear, not to go back to a Scientology reference, but it was pretty clear when that happened that was the one that everybody liked. Then it was almost like there wasn't a whole lot of discussion about it. It just kind of came up and everybody was happy.
Yeah, it felt really organic when it came out.
We were sitting down talking about exactly what it could mean, and it could mean everything that we think that it could mean that meant different for different people. Everybody could still be behind, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
That's really interesting because a lot of times I hear you'll get a band with a unique name, like Modern Guilt, and they're like, yeah, we had a gig and we didn't have a name, but we had to give the promoter a name, so we just made something up and it stuck. And that's just what
Free
we are.
beer usually works as a good band name to get people in.
yeah, but the Doors.
Free beer. The Doors.
The Doors weren't actually called the Doors until they read the checklist and see that the doors were open.
Curfew was a good band.
Yeah, I love those. Early stuff is brilliant.
The early stuff.
Yeah,
The early Curfew.
Yeah.
So all this happened in 2019, really?
Yeah, I guess. 2019.
Because we ended up playing O2 in 2020.
Yeah,
just a couple of weeks before it all shut down.
So the band was basically a baby band when the lockdowns really started to hit.
Yeah.
Did that have a big effect on you guys? Because, no touring. I mean, I don't know how you guys were rehearsing.
Yeah, well, because the first gig we did, it was incredible. Such a big audience. Everyone was really into it. We had a great time. And the plan was shortly after we were going to release first single and have video and, a good promo campaign, hopefully do some touring as well. But because we went into lockdown, all that had to be put on hold. So it was about 6 months, I think, until we could actually get everything together. Like, we couldn't shoot the video because everyone had to stay indoors. And so
studios were closed, and we just finished. We were booking in like a couple of tracks that's on the EP. That had to be postponed.
That got put back a few months. So we were doing writing sessions over like Zoom calls and things.
Wow.
The same thing.
It's not. Yeah, but it was
because the way that we write, it's basically followed that first rehearsal. We go into a room for hours and then see what comes out of it. So it's part of this project, which is really different for me, which is we write the foundation of the songs together. Okay. So everything, so someone comes in with an idea and then it gets sort of adapted and it evolves and things get taken out and things get changed, and between all of us in the rehearsal room. And so it's like a really collaborative experience. And over Zoom, it's just not the same because I can't sit staring at a computer screen for 3 hours.
Yeah.
One person being on mute while the other people talk or try and play you something.
That's got to be maddening.
It is. It's very.
Because that's the buzz of like playing in a band together, is the energy we all have in that room or on stage, and just not the same.
Exactly. And if you can't play off each other, with internet lag and all, it's got to be incredibly frustrating. I've seen bands and collaborations on Zoom where they're all playing, like, I think it was a couple I don't even want to say who it was because one of them was on the podcast, but they played YYZ or YYZ, see, Americanizing everything, by Rush. And like, you can't do that over Zoom. I mean, somebody's going to lag. And it had to be pre-recorded and then comped together.
Yeah. The most mathematical and the most technical shit you can ever play over fucking Zoom. I have to say that. Oh, like, man,
to Rushify.
Maybe you can get away with some mud honey or something, but not Rush.
You know,
now we're talking. Yeah.
I saw you I'm a bit jelly, actually.
Yeah, hey, Steve Turner was my first episode ever. So
yeah, I saw that. So I was doing some research on your podcast before this. Yeah, I was so excited when I found out you interviewed Kenny G. And then I realized it was the other Kenny G, not the saxophone Kenny G, which I was like, that would be amazing.
Yeah, well, it was his drummer, man. It was
the other Kenny G is awesome too, man. So it's like, but it's not saxophone Kenny G.
No, it wasn't actually Kenny G. It was Kenny G's drummer. It was, but it was the real Kenny G's drummer.
Really?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Songbird. Do 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 do. It was his drummer. He was on that track.
Yeah, he's a fucking drummer, I have to say. I'm not a massive fan of Kenny G. I love Kenny G because the era that spawned, that made it possible for people like Kenny G to be a million-selling megastar for playing his saxophone the way he plays his saxophone. Yeah. It's something fucking heartwarming in that, you know? I fucking like it. I really don't like it. But I just love the fact that they have been able to be such big superstars because they're amazing musicians, every single one of them. Like, they're insane.
They really are. And Gigi Ganaway is the coolest. He's got the best laugh in the business. And
he looks up all the time.
Oh, he's well, you know what's crazy is that, all right, so he played on like the biggest selling song of ever on that Songbird Kenny G track. Okay. But he also played on Mariah Carey's MTV Unplugged performance.
No shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, he's like a soft rock superstar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit of a step down, Kenny G to Mariah Carey, but still, she's done all right.
She's done okay. I mean, he's out of the group. He is the sexier one.
He's definitely.
He's got better hair.
That hair, exactly. Oh boy.
That takes some special DNA for that hair. I mean, that's something else. All right, so you guys have an EP coming out. Well, actually, it's out at this point. Were the songs written before the everything came into lockdown, or was that part of the Zoom calls you were doing? Was working on the songs for the EP?
50-50, I think.
I think maybe there was a little bit to finish on one or two, but they were pretty much done. But I think we'd only recorded two in the studio at the time. So
I mean, Get One, for example, will say, wasn't that a lockdown song? Because we wrote that,
but we hadn't recorded it.
That is true.
So the actual studio sessions got put back as well. Yeah. So we've done 2 or 3 sessions for this EP. So it's kind of come together over a little while, and I think we maybe finished a little bit, and we were working on some new stuff as well. So
yeah, of course,
they were mostly done before lockdown. One of the tracks on the EP we built on through lockdown because we hadn't recorded it, and we just wanted to raise its level a little bit because we felt like we could.
Okay.
Because it was the track 150, which we wrote in about 1:50.
Oh wow.
Been a long time since you last away. Holding it together, let down, got to say. Been a long time since you last lied. Turn out all the lights and you can sit in the dark. Oh come on. Oh come on. Oh come on. Oh tell me, really
like while we were in a rehearsal room, we were just in the middle of a rehearsal and we just came out with that, and the song pretty much came together in an instant.
Wow.
And then when we realized that we were going to have to record it, like, studio recording, we had to sit down and learn it, and then we built into it like we do. We can't sit down and play through a song without going, how about trying this? Or what happens if we try a little break there? Or I feel like it needs something there. Why don't we do it? So
I love that.
That song went through a little bit of an evolution through lockdown before we got a chance to finally record it.
Did you guys play out a lot? I know you'd mentioned the show at O2. Did you guys get a chance before the lockdown hit to play out a lot?
Well,
That was one show.
That was one show. We had like the album launch when we were called Scott's New Band.
Yeah, a few months before we did
That was
a show with
thing.
our producer Mikey has his own band called Desert Ships. You should check them out. They're brilliant.
Oh, sure.
They did an album launch a few months before, so we played, but we didn't have the name at the time. I think we were called Scott's New Band.
Yeah, I think so.
Or Special Guests. It was something like that. Something amazing.
But even then, like the stuff we were playing wasn't the same stuff we
it was different.
Because again, everything is always moving and changing for the better and stuff.
So
like that.
it was really the O2 gig that things came together, and we had the name, and we felt we were in a position to actually tell people we're in a band.
So you guys haven't had really
anymore. It's an actual band kind of thing.
So you guys haven't had a chance to really, play these songs out in front of people yet.
No.
Wow.
We were trying to arrange.
It was the worst possible timing, really.
Yeah.
It was. Because we went in the practice room for a month before that, and we went after as well, before studios and stuff like that. So, I mean, we gelled as a band, but we have nobody to show how fucking good we are.
Yeah.
So how was that?
And then
oh, go ahead.
I was just because obviously, we had the first lockdown, so we sat down and we had a chat about how we were going to ride out this lockdown. What were we going to do? We'd had to change our entire approach.
Yeah.
For we had a plan. However vague, there was still a plan of like, once we played that first show, building up to that single launch, that had to get rearranged. And then we had to discuss like, what do we want to do? We had people talking to us about live streaming shows, and we had to sit down and just be really honest with ourselves. And luckily we were all in agreement, and we were just like, at this stage, we don't want to do a live stream show. So thinking we'll ride out this lockdown. Summer comes, we go back in the studio and we start building towards finishing off the EP, and then start looking at booking shows for the beginning of 2021. Obviously, that then went out the window because we had second lockdown, third lockdown, the whole lot. And now we're in this sort of limbo again where we don't know exactly when everything is going to be possible to book stuff in and start playing.
Wow.
So it's been weird.
We had some dates penciled for doing like an EP launch here in London, but because the lockdown here is extended, that's had to be kind of shifted. But a lot of the venues have kind of had their date shifted as well. Their calendars are filling up, so there's not a lot of space to actually get booked in places as well. It's quite frustrating. Yeah,
poor guys, like the booked in for the first week that now longer. They can really have these shows going, even though they booked them in. And it's just like people booking light rigs, like all of that stuff around it, people building stages and stuff. They're kind of...
You guys are literally in a state of limbo because you don't know if the venues are like taking possible bookings, but nobody's really sure what's going to happen at the end of the day.
There's a really good venue here that have offered us like a socially distanced show, but it's like 40 people, and it just doesn't, and it's all like table seated and things. It just doesn't feel like us.
Yeah.
For what we play, playing to a bunch of people sat down at tables, like a sort of weird political party function.
Yeah.
I have to say that. Have you guys seen this old AC/DC live performance from the 70s when Bon Scott was still alive? And it's like in a school, what the fuck is it called? Assembly hall in a school.
Okay.
And the crowd is sitting down, and you have Bon Scott literally there with, no knickers, and his dick is like half down his leg. All that beautiful, beautiful fucking voice of a man. And it's like everybody's sitting down and like really cheering it on. And I mean, the gig is fucking electric, but it's like,
I haven't seen
the cameras pan over and it's just people sitting down like,
obviously, because like you see all the footage of like Led Zeppelin and the Doors touring through places, like the uni halls and stuff, the student bars where everyone was just sat on the floor.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is if it was a packed house and everyone was sat down, Like it's sort of like, welcome kids, welcome to the Modern Guilt story time. Take your seats and I'm going to take you on a little journey. That's fine. But when there's so much empty space, because people are socially distanced, it just adds an extra like sort of chasm between us and who we're playing to, which makes me feel quite uncomfortable. The thought of it, because I've never actually done it. I haven't played to a half-empty canteen, so I can't tell you.
Me and Scott have done that before, and it's terrible.
Don't tell people.
I mean, come on, man. You cannot have played a band touring shitty toilet venues across the UK not to have at least 1 or 2 gigs where you played in front of the janitor, the sound man, and a bartender, and maybe his girlfriend who's on her phone. That's it. Like,
it was a really good gig, actually.
That was a great gig. I mean, the sound guy said it was the second best gig he's seen that month.
Yeah.
Like, it was good.
That month, yeah.
And it was...
It was the second day of the month. Yeah.
All right, so you've got this EP, and it's called You're Welcome. How did you guys decide You're Welcome? Because I think that's fantastic.
It's all right. Don't worry about it. It's all right.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So it's basically been a running joke ever since we met and started playing. When we were demoing Hoping for the Hoping, and we were just chatting, and you could hear me just go, "You're welcome." And I honestly thought it was the greatest name for anything, really. Like, you know, anything that you put out artistically, just to call it "You're welcome," because it's very polite.
Yeah.
But it's equal parts polite and massively arrogant.
Yes.
It summed up my very English approach to things, which is like, I'm better than you, but I'm also very polite.
Do you guys listen to a lot of podcasts?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
A lot.
Have you ever heard, and far be it for me to promote somebody else's podcast, but have you ever heard the one, Your Favorite Band Sucks?
I've listened to a little bit of it, but it was a long time ago.
Okay, it's awesome. It's kind of satirical because I have a hard time deciding if it's literally satire or if I know some of these bands they actually think do suck, because episode 1 was the Beatles.
Oh, yeah, so he's basically going through don't ever meet your heroes because there is always something that the guy really liked his music.
Kind of, but it's actually a critique on all their music. This guy, his name's Tyler Mahan Coe, and he's a musician. His dad was a big outlaw country star, David Allan Coe. So
nice.
If you like American country from the 70s, his dad was huge. So so he actually knows what he's talking about musically. And
So wait, hang on. Are you saying that he sat down and he listened to Yellow Submarine and he said, "That's a terrible song"?
It's shit.
Well, it's not a great song, is it?
Obviously, I'm joking.
But he goes, episode 1 was the Beatles. Episode 2 was the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
He ends every episode with, "You're welcome for listening to Your Favorite Band Sucks." And that's so when I saw the title of the EP, I was like, "Oh, these guys are awesome. I get it."
Nice one. I mean, I was once accosted by a homeless drug addict in the street who went off on a big ramble, and he had a real problem with the Rolling Stones because he basically went on this whole tirade about how he can't understand how the Rolling Stones are famous because all they did is play Muddy Waters backwards and make millions.
But he's right, though.
Yeah.
And I was like, for a deeply unhinged man accosting me on the side of the road, I hear you. I really hear you. You have a point. This is a well-founded argument which I can get behind. Yeah.
That's a good hill to die on, man. I completely agree with that. Stone sucks, man.
I'm not
great. I mean,
the only one I had
the Stones. But I also love Muddy Waters.
Well, yeah. And this is my controversial take. I hate Queen. I cannot stand the band Queen.
Yeah.
I don't like Queen at
I think
all.
Bohemian Rhapsody is the worst song ever recorded.
But I
see the importance that they have, and I mean, I respect the mark they left on music history.
Exactly. But
they're not. I don't think they're that good. I think that talent is good songs.
Perms.
Perms.
I've got nothing against Perms.
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't. it's like I wouldn't want a perm, and as Idol said, I wouldn't fight a man with a perm either.
No, Kenny G will probably kick your ass.
Exactly, and I'm not going to badmouth Kenny G ever. It's just not going to happen.
Badmouth Kenny G. That's illegal.
But
I've got no problem with Queen.
The other,
None
I have
whatsoever.
with Kenny G, but I don't like Queen, to be honest.
the other,
I wouldn't listen to Kenny G either. Just put it out there.
the other side of that podcast is that they will tell you how all these bands suck, and then they'll start extolling the virtues of Limp Bizkit and Creed.
Oh, fuck off, Creed.
There we go.
Creed is like, aren't they the only band who got sued for being shit and they lost the lawsuit?
Well, well, I think Neil Young actually got sued. I don't know if okay, so like the early 80s when he did
Neil
Landing
Young
on,
was terrible in the early 80s.
oh yeah, when he did like Landing on Water,
One of my
Life,
faves.
Neil,
Great. No.
Neil and the Blue Notes, The Shocking Pinks. He was on Geffen Records, and David Geffen actually sued him for not making Neil Young music.
Wow, how did it go? Did he win?
No, I think. I'm trying
Surely it would have been thrown out in court because, by definition, any music that Neil Young makes is Neil Young music.
Yeah.
I think Neil won, and I think so. He actually recorded some decent albums and just held them back. So once he got out of his like 5 album deal with Geffen, that's when he released Ragged Glory.
Yes, that's a great album.
Which, yeah, insane album. So, all right, so back to you guys. Other podcasts and artists
That's enough
aside.
about Neil Young.
Yeah.
Now to Modern Guilt.
Yeah.
Way better artist. I love him way more.
So, Jazz, do you write all the lyrics?
So yeah, that's probably the only thing that I do, which the other guys in the band don't have an input on.
Okay.
And it's primarily because I'm very precious. The only thing I'm precious about is the lyrics. I'm not precious about cutting verses, cutting lines, provided that the sentiment is the same. So if it fits the structure of the song that we are sort of working with and trying to evolve, then, you know, if there's something that I really love, I can just say to them, this is something I want to keep, this line, this melody, whatever it is. And they're like, cool. But yeah, when it comes to just writing the words, they do come out of the gaping abyss that is my mind.
Well, I have a question, and I just got another notice from, I'm starting to question Skype's timekeeping ability here. Or Zoom's timekeeping ability, because I just got another notice, so we may have to do another link here before we're all set.
We're here all day, don't you worry.
No stress, mate.
So, I have a question about the lyrics to Double Denim.
Cool. Yeah.
What did Canada do to you? Why are you so mad at Canada?
Hey man, I'm not mad at Canada. I'm not. So the whole point of it is, you know, so wearing double denim. One of the names is a Canadian tux.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that's what it is. So the opening line is just a nod to that phrase.
Okay.
Toronto Soul is just a nod to what comes later, which is Canadian tux.
Okay.
It's like the whole thing is just, it's an homage to denim.
Okay.
It looks back over the years of denim and how denim has been there in sincerity, in irony, and back to sincerity again. All the different places that it's turned up in. It's a survivor.
It's a history of denim in one song.
Exactly.
Excellent. All right. Well, now I have a newfound respect for it. Then I was going to try to defend Canada, which is hard to do.
It's big and it's cold.
It is.
I wouldn't want to be put in charge of defending Canada either.
They're very polite, though. I will tell you that.
I've heard. I mean, I don't really want to go down this route because recently there's been a lot of stuff coming out about Canada.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Well, so all right, moving on.
Politely moving on.
What's it all about?
Hang on.
So the EP, I love the music. Shadowboxer, I think, is my favorite song.
Yeah, it's one of our favorites.
It sounds like the Fix is playing All Along the Watchtower. Incredible. I love the riff on that.
Yeah, you just thanks.
So we'll isolate that.
Will do.
Do you guys? So the EP is what, 5 songs? Let me pull it up here. All right. Do you have more songs? Is there an LP in the works? Maybe.
Yeah, well, we recorded in our last studio session in March, which that was when we recorded 150, which was like the final track for the album, the EP. We recorded another few tracks, which we're probably likely to put out later this year.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
They fucking rule. It's the best shit we've ever done. So get this EP out of the way so we can move on.
Our producer's still to send us the first mix, but he says it's incredible.
Oh, yeah.
He says.
He's assured
Yeah,
to say that is awesome. But
the tracks, the next tracks are like, this EP is kind of like a bookmark of our first sound. It's a bit more garage rock, this EP. Yeah. The next few that we've got recorded, it's a bit more progressive. There's like world percussion instruments. There's
by that, what Scott means is that he sat in the studio for 5 hours. He bought every extra percussion instrument he could get his hands on. You know, he'd rinsed the internet and music shops and anything that he could find, and basically brought in half a carpentry shop and just said, I am going to lay down all of these and then we're going to see. And I've got the most fantastic footage of Scott on his own, mic'd up, just with like cowbells, wooden blocks, little sacks of beans. Which is just going,
the sack. I love the sack.
I'm going to isolate that now too.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. He loves the sacks.
I love the sack.
Yeah.
Kenny G.
He was recording we only had half an hour left to do vocals, guitars, and drums. But
it took us about 20 hours.
Yes.
And then we did the rest of the track.
Yeah,
it's a very percussive record.
Yeah, we're moving a different direction on this one. Second album kind of stuff.
But luckily the guys trusted me to come and get this sound.
Yeah, you really delivered that one.
It's a tribute to Gene Krupa.
Because when we're in the studio, Scott kept saying, you know, you guys, have you got any like cool photos of me or like any videos of me like on the kit? And we were like, no, because like we're live recording, we're tracking, you know, the rhythm section, so we're all playing when you're playing. So I made sure to get as much footage of Scott doing his extra percussion stuff as possible, and that's all I've got.
Yeah,
my phone was full
footage
of about 25 minutes of various clips of Scott with a cowbell.
Yeah, it is deliciously looking though, I have to say.
We need more cowbell.
You got more cowbell.
Hey, I had him on too.
Yeah. Did you?
Albert Bouchard, yeah.
Wow.
Drummer for Blue Oyster Cult.
I remember a funny story actually when we were recording the cowbell. So on our Instagram, I think Jazz put up an Insta story of me recording, going ding ding ding, and you put what did you say? Something like Scott's got a fever, like as a reference to the Saturday Night Live sketch. And my mum is like relentless on Instagram. Like
she loves everything.
She sent us like a DM going, you know, bear in mind all COVID and stuff. She's like, Scott, has he got a fever? I'm like, so I'd spent like an hour like explaining to my mum what was going on about the sketch. I sent her like clips of the sketch and stuff.
Well, you see, back in the 70s,
like, very good.
There's this band called Blue Oyster Cult, and there's a song. Don't fear the. So the songs are they're this perfect pop length. I mean, the longest is what, just under 4 minutes, right? So, and you guys said you've kind of gone a little different route with some of the newer stuff. Do you plan on stretching the songs out a little bit live, or are you going to be?
Actually, it's funny that you mentioned that, because we were talking about the same thing when we were writing the album, because obviously one of my favorite songs of all time is Liar Liar by the Castaways.
Oh,
and how it's like 2:43 or something like that. And like music in the 60s, pop music, radio music, they were not longer than 2 minutes and 40 something odd seconds.
yeah, thank you, Mickey Most.
Yeah, because the best thing is when you finish with it and it's good, you listen to the entire song again. But if you have something 4 or 5 minutes, like it's a decent enough meal to fill you up. You might listen to something else. But if you have it short, you want to listen again. And we had that ethos when we started recording like rock songs, man. It's like, fuck, just make it short and nice. If you like it, you listen to it again.
Yeah.
But I mean, we also have made like the later songs, we kind of made them in the way that you can modify them in a live situation to make them a 9-minute jazz odyssey, if you want to. Not that we will, but
no, we will. And we'll get all that percussion that I talked about.
Fuck yes.
Incidentally, it's also the name of my sex tape, 9-minute jazz odyssey. But saying that, we've got Get Along, which has got like a sort of 32-bar instrumental, and we've always spoken about that. It's something that we can drag out for as long as we like, because there's a huge shared love of Brian Jonestown.
Yes.
Massacre.
Yeah.
It's a lot of what we do is because we've all got slightly different influences as well. We're always kind of bringing in each other to this sort of common ground in the middle, and trying to prevent each other from going off on a massive tangent of one of our very niche influences.
Right.
So I spend a lot of my time reining Andreas back from a 3-minute guitar solo, like sort of BGM inspired.
Well, I mean, you got cuts in there as well, I guess, and I don't know what you're talking about. They're always, should be like, should be even like,
well, Get Along and Shadowboxer, I can actually hear them being extended and doing the extended jam live. I mean, they kind of lend themselves to it.
I think the original demo for both of those songs were like 9 minutes long.
Oh, wow.
But that's another thing about when you go and see your favorite bands live. Like, you'll know the song that's on record, but it's exciting to...
God, Zoom sucks.
It gives it like a little toilet break, so we're all good.
That's a good point. Mine will be coming up with the next break, because I've finished my coffee.
You feel like a bucket under your legs or something.
Well, I'm not even wearing pants, so...
Oh, wow. I'm so glad we've got a video call going on here.
Yeah. Son of a bitch. No, that ain't it. The hell did I just do? Oh, Jesus. Anyway, so we were talking about seeing your favorite bands live, because the songs change and expand live.
So one of the exciting things about going to see your favorite bands, you know the songs from the record, but great bands, like when you go watch them live, they'll do maybe a slightly different guitar solo or extend an intro or an outro or something. Just it keeps you like on your toes, if you like, as in the audience, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah,
even though you know the song, but it's great.
Yeah, I mean, it's good and bad. I mean, for example, again, I said it like 9 times. Like, I went to see Quetzal many years ago, and they were doing this. It was a song between Avon, and they just blended perfectly into the Lost Art of Keeping a Secret, I think it was.
Okay.
And in between there, they just had this like 9-minute long interim, not a jam, it's just the way how they progressed into the two songs without changing. And it was practiced. It's like there's like tiny parts with breaks, and you can like, these guys have actually practiced this. It doesn't exist anywhere else than in front of me right now. It has been created for this purpose only. Because if it was recorded, it would be cool, but it wouldn't be the same thing as me being the one out of like, what was it, like 2,000 people there at that point? Like, wow, thing. And I mean, that's what makes music, live music, especially like magic, and yes, it's good to hear bands that tight and just play the album. That's cool. But then also you have that thing, when a band progresses from being a really good band to watch to one of your favorite bands to watch, is when you have shit like that going on.
Absolutely.
Like the always evolving live set. And I think we kind of made all of our songs open-ended in the way that we can always fuck about with everything.
Yeah,
the way we go with it.
Your guitar sounds, or just have a little groove at the start or something.
Yeah, you always have something going around, and then there's always a new take on how you approach your music, because it's a hard one playing your own shit over and over again. You're going to end up kind of hating it at some point. And if you fuck about with it, it's kind of like, if you have a marriage and you try swinging, I guess, it's like,
yeah, hey.
You just keep
it fresh. Incidentally, the swingers community has been hit hard by COVID. So we're in the same boat.
You know what?
Yeah.
They are the
live
unnamed
victims.
Swingers. Swingers are really the forgotten victims of COVID.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, so thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. No keys in a bowl.
Where's the relief for swingers? Where's the government relief for swingers?
Yeah, we're actually starting a petition.
Oh, good.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah,
so you can spread the word.
I will. I'll sign it. I mean, I don't know if my signature will count overseas, but
it's a petition.
That's all right. We're calling it "What Goes Around Comes Around."
Oh, hey, well that works.
But
swingers
the thing is like, when you go and see a band and you want to hear your favorite tracks, you don't want to hear them play a completely different. But I don't want to hear them play a completely different version. I want to hear. But hang on, bear with me. Let me finish. But, I would love to hear, like we're saying, an extended like instrumental or a different intro or a different outro, or them bringing something in, but then dropping it out again and going back into the track I love. Just to, bring something different. So I get the best of both worlds. I get to hear the body of a track that I love and has all the memories and all the emotions that come with it. And then also experience something that's happening, like you were saying, Andreas, right there. It's just between me and them, like the audience and the band. It doesn't exist anywhere else. And it's like, you'll remember that. Like, do you remember the time when you saw, Quatsa, and they just did this sort of 7-minute instrumental from, between two tracks? It's like, yeah, it's just, it sticks out as a very sort of personal experience between you and this band.
It is a fine line, though, because I have to say, the same year I watched a gig by Mars Volta on the same festival, and I like Mars Volta a lot. I really liked it.
Did it go on for about 2 days?
No, it was the thing, because they had a 40-minute slot, and they started playing, and when they finished, they played 2 songs after 40 minutes, and that, for me personally, was a little bit too much, because I didn't like them enough to revere them as musicians could. I really like the album. I just kind of want to see it live and see what they do.
Yeah.
Because I don't know them enough. But 40 minutes versus having, here and there, it's a difference, I think.
But it's something that we haven't had a chance to really sit down and hone, because like we're saying, it's our live performance.
Yeah.
It's, it's the art that we create when we're on stage. So that has basically been, kept in a cupboard under the stairs for 18 months.
Yeah.
And no one's really sure when we're going to let it out.
So are you guys anxious to get out and play? Are you nervous since you haven't really done it in a year and a half? I mean, or is it a little bit of both?
I'm nervous. Can't wait. I mean, like the past year, like we've had times when we've been allowed to rehearse full band or be in the studio and stuff. And often at these points, we've not seen each other like in person for a couple of months. And it's just like, we're all really good mates. And it's just like so exciting and everything to like get in the room together and play. And so
shit.
Apart from that, the next thing is like, well, we want to get out and play live and can't wait.
Yeah.
I'm terrified.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you look it.
I mean, I can't, as we've already established, I can't sing. So it's always a little nervy, but.
And you're very reserved.
Very quiet.
Yeah. Very humble.
Yes.
Very humble.
I'm probably the most humble man.
Ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say ever. I mean, Jesus.
Pretty humble. Pretty humble.
So
you take Jesus out of the equation naturally.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not gonna make a claim. I'm not gonna stake a claim. But no, I'm not very humble. But I get really, really anxious going on stage.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I would never change it for the world. If I didn't get anxious, all it meant is that I didn't care.
It's a good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. Where can people find the album? How can they order the EP and keep track of what's going on with the band?
It's all like on every streaming site, download sites. We've got our own Bandcamp page. Most of our like handles and stuff are like Modern Guilt Official. So, Facebook, Instagram,
Spotify,
Amazon, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes. All that. Yeah, it's all digital for now. Like, I mean, we're hoping maybe in a few months or something we might be able to get it released as like a vinyl copy.
Yeah.
We've got our own website set up now as well, which is modernguiltofficial.com. Have a look. It's great.
Do we have a Twitter?
We have a Twitter.
Do we ever use it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do, because Bobby Gillespie tweeted us.
You did.
Oh yeah, I don't have Twitter. So
you don't have anything.
No, that's
You barely got a phone.
yeah.
You guys did get the official approval of Primal Scream's Bobby Gillespie. That's pretty impressive.
He compared us to Cars, was it? And there was a specific song by Cars. It was like, what the fuck? No, I think, oh, you guys sound like early Cars. And I was like, fuck yeah, Cars. I remember them. This is really 80s band. So I looked at it and like, Jesus Christ, this sucks. And then like, they look like a really, really early Cars. Like, was he really, really sarcastic? But like early Cars are actually an amazing band. They're really, really cool. Post-punk, new wave kind of rock kind of thing. It's just later 80s. They didn't sound that great, but Cars are cool.
They went more pop than punk back then.
Yeah, basically.
So
they got paid money from the record label to sound a little bit more appropriate for everybody.
Yeah, a little more all ages.
Yeah,
I'll take that money if anyone's dishing it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll send you that $10 or something for doing this.
Yeah.
Later,
Next time we can,
eventually.
you maybe buy like a Zoom link.
Yeah.
So we don't have to off.
No, fuck the man. Let's do this. It's great.
Pay for our, Andreas's Uber across the street.
Yeah. Oh, that's going to be quite a hefty price.
I did get the nice one because like rolling up to an interview a little bit late.
Did you get the XL?
You did.
You got like drinks and stuff in it. You were sat outside my house the whole time just having drinks and food.
So many drinks, they're all free. I had to finish them. I felt the waste to leave them there. It wasn't,
You should have brought them in.
Yeah.
You can't waste that stuff in a pandemic. I mean, you can't waste it anytime really, but especially not a pandemic. But that made me think of one question. Since the band is still fairly new and it basically still in its infancy, we stunted growth thanks to the pandemic. But you guys have all been playing music for a while. What are you guys' thoughts and feelings on Spotify? And I mean, I've talked to a lot of musicians who've been in it for years and they freaking hate it because you don't get paid anything. How do you guys feel about it? I mean, I've heard it compared to artists being told, do it for free because you're doing it for the exposure, which is a bunch of bullshit.
I mean, to be honest,
everyone says that about artists. It's like, oh, do this for nothing because you're going to get the exposure. But you can't go on like that forever.
No, exactly.
It is right.
To be honest, like all that exposure kept me really warm last winter when it was very cold.
Yeah.
And also like when I had a leak in my flat, and I had a lot of exposure that could.
You can pay an exposure these days.
Yeah, you die from exposure.
Yeah. I think Spotify is one of those. We live in a world right now where everything is edging to something that is the status quo that nobody likes, and I think Spotify and the whole internet in general is like. You just have to go with it because it's the way that the future goes. If it's a good or a bad thing, I think it's a terrible thing. But that's the thing. Like we don't really.
Part of the way that the consumption of music exists now.
Because the problem is it's insanely handy.
Yeah.
That's the bit. It's amazingly handy. And the way that it works with you liking songs and sending playlists and finding new shit because you have a super intelligent computer that knows what you like before you even know that you like it. Around there to show you what's good. It's actually genius because what it does, it just feeds on this thing that doesn't actually pay the creators anything.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, I mean, the obvious problem is how the hell are musicians supposed to survive?
Yeah.
But then when you look at it in a
musicians.
But if you look at it in a broader
It doesn't though.
perspective,
What makes music?
when you look at like the money in the music industry, and you look at, the 40s, the 50s, and then boom, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, 90s, and then it's just dropped out again. So we've kind of just come full circle really, really quickly.
Well, I mean, you also have the thing is like SoundCloud is kind of like if I think the problem with modern music, especially guitar bands like ours today. I mean, we are a bit older. We have come to the point where we actually have a little bit of a fluid income, but we've all been skint ass musicians in our early 20s, living on £10 a month. Fuck me, I was smoking cigarettes off the street, and I lived on fucking drug dealers' fucking sofa for years.
Were you
And
the
it's
one
like-
yelling at Jazz about the Rolling Stones?
Maybe, maybe not. I guess.
You had a different haircut at the time.
I did have a different, yeah.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is I know how it is to be poor, and I'm just lucky I'm a bit older, but now I have a disposable income, so I can actually afford to fucking play music. And I can imagine there's a bunch of fucking kids that trying to do what I did. And even though it was way easier 10 years before I did it, it's still going to be so fucking hard to try to do that, because if you don't have the bank of mom and dad, this shit's going to be impossible to make.
Yeah.
And
So it's basically, it's
kind of
become,
the same way as the art. Like if you look at modern art, for example, it's created itself as this little. It used to be you could be working class person making modern art, and you could actually survive on it, and you can do something good. But now it's kind of because it's so encased in people with money and privilege. It's only for people of money and privilege. And rock music is kind of guitar music is kind of going that way. And it kind of feels and because
it's a luxury, essentially. To be able to play music is a luxury, because if I had to work 2 jobs in order to just stay afloat, I wouldn't have the time or the money to be able to dedicate to it.
Yeah.
So like we're saying, we're in a position where we work, got enough money to stay afloat, and then we can do something we love. But there's no way of, there is, but it's a lot harder to pursue music as a way of getting out of a dead end town.
Yeah.
Like people used to do. You've got a talent, you've got a skill, you've got stories to tell, and you can move on.
Yeah,
You can,
but I mean, there's a lot of good hip hop these days that are kind of working really hard to still preserve this thing that you can come from a rough background and you can actually make it, and you not make it, but you can make a living out of being a good songwriter and a good hip hop artist or a good soul artist.
The grime scene, and it's pretty DIY.
So it's back to the DIY thing. But again, it's those guys still don't get any money for the music they make.
Yeah, well, the last year's made it incredibly difficult, because the only with the state of the industry as it is, the only way to make money is to tour.
Yeah, exactly. It's tour and merchandise sales.
Yeah.
On tours, for example, and
yeah, I mean, maybe
that's sort of gone.
Yeah, if you're lucky, you get a commercial here and there.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Well, on that uplifting note, I want to thank you guys for spending your afternoon with me. This has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Thanks so much for inviting us on.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Oh, my goodness. You guys are always welcome to come back on if you want to talk about anything. Take a break from talking about yourselves for a little while, except for Jazz.
How did you know? It's only been at almost 2 hours, and you've already clocked that my mastermind topic would be the life and times of Jazz.
I think you probably clocked it after a minute and a half.
We could.
But yeah, we'll talk about anything, as you can tell.
it's so much fun, man.
We could possibly do an episode just on jazz. That could be a topic.
Yeah.
It would get dark, man. It would get really dark.
This is actually not going to be on the episode. It's just me and Scott talking about him.
Talking about jazz.
Nelson still farts and then he smiles. I don't know why he does that.
If you guys have anything in particular that you want to talk about, something that you're really interested in. Yeah. Something that's not jazz or the pandemic, I'll be happy to do another episode.
I mean, I want to talk about the shortage of left-handed scissors. I'm a right-handed guy myself, but I mean, yeah, it's just weird.
Hey, left-handed
I'm not
everything.
sure how you can get an hour out of that, but
We get left-handed coffee mugs, you know?
Yeah. There's literally a gap in the market for that.
Tartan paint. That's another one.
Tartan paint, yeah.
Condoms.
Stop with the cocks.
I had an idea for a convertible condom, but that's
Convertible.
Like an open top.
yeah,
Brilliant.
you know, for when you need it.
For when you need it. That's great.
Exactly. So, God, I totally forgot what I was going to say. Oh, have you guys ever seen? There's this website. I'm trying to remember what it's called, but if you Google like useless utensils or useless tools, somebody makes these art pieces, and it's completely useless tools. They have a fork, but from the prongs of the fork to the handle is like chains. It's
Yeah.
Okay, so
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
it is unbelievable. They have a watering can that's backwards or something. It's just it's amazing. So that kind of crap just blows me away. I love it. So
Yeah.
And if also because it's formed one of my favorite phrases, which was just because you're special or unique doesn't mean you're useful.
Exactly. Oh, okay. So you guys need to check out, I think it's called demotivators.com. You guys ever see those stupid posters around your job like teamwork? It's the exact opposite. There's like a picture of a sinking ship and it says, perhaps your life is just to serve as a warning to others.
There is a really, really good website like that does like one of those it does like all of these inspirational quotes, but it's an AI who's like randomly generates inspirational quotes with nice little pictures on it. It's fucking brilliant.
That's awesome.
It's just Google AI generated life quotes or whatever, and you will find it, and it's brilliant.
I will definitely check that out. Oh, okay. Yeah. AI. So I don't know if you guys have seen this on YouTube, but there's an account called Funk Turkey. And
Funk rings a bell.
Funk Turkey. And this guy does is he takes lyrics from popular bands and feeds it into an AI, and it spits out just random lyrics in the style of that band. And he's done.
Yes, I have heard this.
It's amazing.
It's fucking weird, man.
They've got one from.
One was awesome.
The AC/DC one was incredible.
Was holding a French man for himself and giving the queen. Yeah, we're doing fine. I've got money, neckties, took the giving the dog. I love them all. She wouldn't do. I won't take you down. I'm just giving the fools. Pull it. Look at the dog. A touch too young to thrill. Great balls and big balls. Too many women.
Yes, but then again, if you think about it, AC/DC do actually sound themselves like a computer playing music that sound like AC/DC. If you listen to the latest AC/DC release and the AC/DC release 20 years ago, they literally put the same cards out of the AC/DC hat of words and riffs they're going to play kind of thing.
Oh, yeah. But they
love it. Don't take me wrong. They're fucking awesome. But
I've never been a big AC/DC fan, but because honestly, that AI song is my favorite AC/DC song ever. It's called Great Balls.
I was actually listening to a really good cover of Hell Spells this morning before I got out of bed. Dandy Warhol's made a really good cover of Hell Spells.
I did. I had a show with Pete Holmstrom.
Yes, I saw that.
He was on the podcast.
Man. He is an insane guitarist, actually.
He's so nice too, man. He was awesome. If you guys are big fans of Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and Dandy Warhols,
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Check out
Black Rebel, Brian Jonestown Massacre, fucking Warlocks. I really like.
check out Pete
Great.
International Airport.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah, because
He's also solo.
some of the I've got Chris Ollie coming on in a couple of weeks, who's in part of Pete International Airport. So
Nice.
I'm going to.
Thank you for taking a break and bringing on us in between all these illustrious characters.
Very fair.
well, no, honestly, guys, seriously, the EP is so good. I really love trying
Just play to your friends and just keep listening, man. And like, we really appreciate you liking it.
Oh, I really do, and I'm so thankful Scarlett posted about you guys, because otherwise, I may have not made the connection. So it's at this point, I get so much stuff, so many promos in the mail. Like, I'm trying to look here. I've got like 5. And thank God, I love CDs. So I get like 5 promo CDs that I haven't heard yet. There's this like, oh, okay, Andreas, you'll like this. Prosthetic Records. They have a lot of really heavy stuff. It's like,
actually that brings me to a question I have for you. Like, because obviously, like, it seems like you listen to a lot of new music. Like probably more than I do. How is guitar music? Is it alive? What's happening? Is there any good music around?
Oh yeah, there is. It's not easy to pick out. I mean, there's a lot of everything out there, and it's going through weird phases because you don't hear a whole lot of the shredders. Like when I was growing up, I'll be 48 on Monday, so it's. I did have Dave Weiner on, Steve Vai's rhythm guitarist. So
yeah,
I love that stuff. But you don't hear a whole lot. There's a guy named Pliny out there who's incredible, but you don't see a whole lot of that being pushed now.
No, there's no emergence of a new scene or anything like that that's worth checking out.
There's a lot of super heavy stuff, like death metal.
That shit's always been around though, man. Like, metal has this weird kind of fan base that is like, they're always going to be there. Metalheads.
But there's a very little in between. Like there's not a whole lot of hard rock.
I think metal has a problem. It hasn't reinvented itself properly.
I agree.
It needs to reinvent itself. Like, because now it's just a bit shit. And I think emo did a lot of damage to that. I don't know what you think, but I think personally that kind of when I stopped listening to it, when people started singing about how much they hate their parents. And,
I'm not a big emo fan myself, but
yeah, I don't like it. But then again, they kind of took that like whole metal thing, and I think as a metal fan that you should always be welcoming to other metal fans, even though they're not real metal. Sorry, big rabbit ears coming up there. Because, it's subcultures, man, and metal fans have always embraced each other because we are of a subculture that is not liked by everybody else. It's like, if you like this, then you can fucking stay on my roof, mate. And that's in Sweden especially. It's like that. Like, you can spot a metalhead.
Oh yeah,
because we're always nerds, man. It's very inclusive and very welcoming, to be honest.
If you like that stuff, if you're probably familiar with it already, but Prosthetic Records, they've got so much stuff. Which
you know this sounds like the perfect topic for one of your one-off shows.
We should.
Where Andreas can come on and because I don't listen to a lot of this stuff, so I can't sit down and engage with Andreas on this level.
Yeah. So
I have to say though, like, I love to talk about metal, but like, if I look at what I've been listening to for the last year or 2 years, it's mostly
Mariah Carey,
old school soul, and like instrumental samba music.
Okay. Well, I will shoot you a list. I'll shoot you a list of some metal bands you can listen to. I'll send it to Scott the email, and on your Uber ride across the street, you'll have like an hour's worth of.
I don't have my own laptop, so I'll have to come here to check it.
So Jeff, what do you listen to? What are you into?
Oh man, I mean, I listen to, like, I'm a huge fan of like Dylan, Leonard Cohen, Tom Waits, and then the 60s and the 70s, like, soul, Motown, and then all the the Stones, the Beatles. I do love all that. I still do like the 60s pop and stuff.
All right, I'll give you a couple
Brit
people
pop.
to listen to. So there's this unsigned band. You probably know this lady because she's friends with Scarlett, Hawk Percival.
Yeah,
Yeah. Autumn is awesome. There's another lady, Che Ami Dorval. She's incredible. She's played with Devin Townsend, and she was one of the early people on the show. She's got a couple of albums out, and she's about ready to release something new. But she's got this really soulful voice. Really, really, it's like smooth. That's hard to describe. She's flipping awesome, though.
nice.
So, all right, Scott, what about you? What are you listening to?
I guess first sort of music I got into was around the Britpop scene, and then there was always like George Michael, Wham, Ellie, Madonna.
Again with a George.
George. Like Fleetwood Mac. That was always around when I was younger. And yeah, got into like old sort of 60s, 70s, Motown,
But that's
soul.
it's always inspired your drumming, and that's like,
Like a lot of the hi-hat work and stuff.
fucking brilliant, man.
Well, if you're interested in covers, my buddy I was telling you about is about to release an entire covers album. Jordan Zadarazzi, Blink of the Star, he just released a single. He covered Madonna's Holiday.
Oh wow!
And it's amazing. So go to Bandcamp, check out Blink of the Star, and it's.
I'll definitely do that.
It's.
I've got that. See that the Immaculate Collection that is like her 80s greatest hits.
Yep.
I've got it on vinyl. It's one of the best albums of all time.
Well,
It's just
Scott once sent through an immaculately edited video of him with a toy saxophone playing along to George Michael.
Careless Whisper.
Careless Whisper.
You said we wouldn't tell anyone about this.
It's my favorite piece of cinema.
I get like 6 people listening, so don't worry about it. That's all right. Well, we're about to lose this meeting too. So, guys, thank you so much for doing this.
All right, cool.
And
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this. It's been wonderful.
Oh, my pleasure. And we'll stay in touch. And always, please come back on. Let's do another one.
Yeah,
For sure.
of course.
For sure, man.
Awesome, guys. We'll talk to you later.
All right, Mark.
See ya.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.